I would like you to give at least a minute introduction about yourself.
Thank you so much. My name is Hemani. As Nasser said, I am the Director for International Development at FutureLearn, which is an international lifelong learning platform. And my work is very much involved with systems level capabilities, change, and transformation. And actually, I'm here today to talk about a very interesting paradox that we see, which is that we have more learning than ever. We have more courses, we have more investment in education and learning and development. But when I talk to learning and development leaders and ask them the question, do you know who in your organization is ready to deliver on the next quarter's goals? A lot of them aren't sure. They aren't able to answer that question. And that's because we don't have a learning problem. We have a capabilities problem. As I said, we have more courses than ever. We have explosion of courses from hundreds to thousands of courses. And yet, organizational readiness is still not clear. There's still capability gaps, and leaders still aren't able to answer the question, are we ready? And that gap persists because learning has scaled, but capability hasn't. As I said before, we have a very elegant solution in the content management systems that we use and the learning management systems. Users have an abundance of information that they can access, and that actually causes quite an overwhelm of choice. And in that way, leaders struggle to see who can actually do the work. And that's because the traditional workforce model follows a specific pattern. We have the learning management systems that distribute the content. We have the reports. I'm sure all of you have seen some sort of reports that track completion, and we have lots of dashboards that also can show us engagement. But that isn't designed for where the workforce is going. The old model no longer works because roles are evolving faster than learning pathways. I'm sure every person here has been in an organization where the AI talk is very, very loud, and you've seen the changes in the organization too, where roles are coming up that you've never heard of before. And learning is actually disconnected from real work. In many cases, and I'm sorry if this is controversial, but in many cases, managers and even the learners themselves, they tend to see learning as a tick box exercise. But it doesn't have to be like that, because completion doesn't equal capability, but that's how we have tended to measure it. But we can do something different. If we look at the difference between personalized learning and segmented learning. So what we've been talking about a lot when you see these platforms that talk about personalization, what it actually is usually segmentation, or even in some cases, categorization. So what you'll see is a rules-based platform that it's not actually intelligence, it's masquerading as intelligence, it's just a set of rules, or it's a static skills model that doesn't quite fit the dynamism of how quickly job roles are changing. And what this overlooks in the workplace is context, timing, and the aspiration of your workers, of the people that are in your organization. So that's why we want to move away from segmentation to true adaptation. And this is what it can look like. So there are things that we should use AI for, such as synthesizing and prioritizing how we deploy information and how we interact with information. We should use AI to ensure that the learning can adapt to different roles, and we should use AI to ensure that learning can connect to what you actually need to do, not just today, but in the next 6 months, in the next 2 years that you're in the organization. But where we can't use AI, what we can't use it to replace, is to define your learning strategy. It also doesn't replace the judgment of leaders in the workforce, and it doesn't fix unclear role design. So that's where we would like our organizations to really put the human element in place and have an AI orchestration layer. So what that can look like is using inputs that you put into the AI orchestration layer, such as role signals, business priorities, and individual goals. And let AI do the synthesization and prioritization of that. And then you check, can your employees actually do the work that they have been training for? using different metrics, different types of engagement, and different type of dashboards that come from the inputs. And the outcome of that is better capabilities, more confidence, and verifiable readiness. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you just one example of this. And I want to be clear that what I've spoken about today, it's not the silver bullet, as they say. There's lots of ways that you can do this if you're focusing on this sort of pattern of the input, the layer, and the human element all together. This is what we've done at FutureLearn, which is a lifelong learning platform. We've just developed FLX, which draws from 150,000 learning items across 300 partners. And I'm going to show you an example of that, and then we can explore what kind of other examples are out there.
Your organization is evolving faster than ever. And your most adaptable resource? Your people. But growth only happens when people have the right resources to develop. Those resources are everywhere. But how do you cut through the noise and deliver the right learning to the right person at the right time? Imagine a tool that asks just a few questions and builds every employee their own personalized learning pathway. That's FLX, turning learning chaos into clarity. With adoption rates over 80%, saving organizations thousands of hours, FLX identifies and fills skills gaps before they even surface, long before they impact performance. With over 150,000 learning assets, real-time dashboards, seamless content integration, and engaging support tools, FLX strikes the perfect balance between autonomy and control. It empowers self-driven learners while guiding them to develop the skills that matter to them and to your business. No noise, no guesswork, just curated, relevant, highly individual learning experiences, learning that drives performance and fuels real growth. FLX, where learning meets impact.
So that's just one example of what you could do and one approach to building this type of system. When we're seeing strong adoption with FLX, but the fact remains that if you build your own or you partner with another organization or use a hybrid model, what we actually want to get to the heart of here, the real leadership question, is where should AI help us make better capability decisions and where should humans stay firmly in control? So that concludes what I wanted to show you today. I hope that was interesting. If you have any questions, please come find me. I'd love to talk about this more. And now I'd like to hand over to the esteemed panel.